love listening to music, and I love listening to all kinds of music. I mean, you give me J-pop, you give me K-pop, you give me some Hindi stuff, like, I'm all into it. But one genre I can't seem to get into is rap. And that doesn't make a lot of sense, because rap does something that really all musicians can benefit from, and that is the use of loops. What is up, Yoshis? My name is Beth and I run Steadfast, Ascent, and today we're going to be talking about using loops in songwriting. So what are loops? Loops are a repeating section of material. So whether that's a drum beat on a loop, whether that's a guitar beat on a loop, whether that's a bass line on a loop, it repeats over a section. Now that we know what it is, why are loops useful? Well, there's three big reasons why you should be using loops in your songwriting. The first one is that loops allow you to completely avoid the blank page syndrome. I don't know if you've ever had this. You have set aside a time to write some music and you sit down and there is nothing happening in your head. And you're like, I set this time aside to make music, but I have nothing to make. There's nothing in here. Loops will fix that. Or they can at least solve it, because using a loop sets the stage for you to make something. It's just enough structure to allow your brain or your creative juices or whatever you want to call it, the freedom to start moving and doing something, despite the fact that, it's not creative. And the lack of creativity of using loops is a terrible argument for them, because here's the other thing. Number 2, if you're counting, using loops can serve as a limiter, as like a border or a boundary that you can set up to help you fit creatively within those boundaries. So for example, sometimes what I do is when I'm writing a song and I don't know what to do, I pick out drum loops and I'll be like, okay, I'm only gonna choose a loop that has a number 3 in it. So I'll have variation 3s all across the top of my thing, and using that as a limit or a boundary actually increases me to be able to work creatively on my guitar, because, and this is totally arbitrary, but number 3 maybe has different beats than I would normally choose or that I normally hear, and so it forces me, as I'm writing my guitar lines over these drum pieces, to come up with something new and to come up with something more creative than I would have if I had just pulled it all out of my own brain. Now, this isn't necessarily so much about songwriting itself, but loops are super useful for beefing up different sections of your song. So for example, if you have a bridge piece and it feels empty, well, maybe you should be looking to loops to help you out. This is because in a loop, you can use instruments that you maybe don't have access to. So I only have guitars, and I have a drum, and I have a keyboard. Now obviously that's a lot, and you can do a lot with that. However, I have no access to like a violin, or like a glockenspiel, or like these symphonic drum pieces. Using a loop would allow me to, one, expand my genre and or emphasize a different part of the music that I shouldn't really have access to. Maybe you're convinced and you're like, dude, I'm gonna do a variation 3 song. That's awesome, I love it. How do you find loops? Well, if you are in GarageBand or Logic, it's super easy. There's a little loop button that you can just click in Logic, and it just opens up the floodgates of all sorts of different kinds of loops that you can use. And then you just get to sort through them. You can sort through them by key, you can sort through them by tempo, you can sort through them by instrument. There is a lot. If you are not blessed with the gift of Apple, bless you for one. Stay away from corporate capitalism. And for 2, there are plenty of loops and samples that you can find on the internet. Reality is that your DAW probably came with some sort of loop package. It may not have, and the internet is a great place to find free loops, or you can pay for loops, or you can just make loops yourself. Making loops yourself does defeat the purpose a little bit of this whole songwriting thing. However, you could create a drum line and then put the cycle bar up and have that repeat and use that to help you write. I actually do this often when I'm writing lyrics. I know what music I want, but I don't know what really fits with it, so I'll just put the music in a cycle or in a loop, and I will play it back over and over and over and over and over and over until I have the time or the creativity to come up with something that I really want to listen to, or that I think is really worthy of my words. So you can make your own, whether you're just putting the cycle track on or whether you're using a looper pedal. Now I will be talking about how to use Firehawk FX's looper pedal next week, but for now, my challenge for you is to write a song that loops, or using loops, today. Let us know if you do make one of those, and also let us know if you've come up with any creative or cool ways to use loops that I haven't covered in this video today. And if this video has helped you make music or think about making music or any of those things, it helps me out if you leave it a like. And if you want to learn more about songwriting, home recording, and the use of music in general, feel free to subscribe to this channel. And I would like to thank you so very much